In the next few years, millions of people could leave Canada, a country once seen as the ultimate dream destination. Recent reports show that more families than ever are questioning whether they can actually build a stable life here. Skyrocketing housing prices, soaring costs of living, long waits in hospitals, and growing political tensions are leaving many Canadians and immigrants feeling trapped. What happens when the very nation known for safety, opportunity, and prosperity begins to push its own people away? Some experts warn that by 2030, Canada could face one of the largest population shifts in its modern history. Stay tuned as we uncover the 10 biggest reasons this exodus might already be underway. Number 10. Better opportunities abroad. At the heart of the decision to leave Canada lies a simple truth: many families believe there are better opportunities abroad. While Canada offers stability, the combination of high costs, job struggles, and policy uncertainties pushes people to look elsewhere. Countries across the globe are competing aggressively for skilled workers, offering attractive incentives such as higher salaries, lower living expenses, and faster pathways to permanent residency. For families who feel stuck in Canada's cycle of financial stress, these offers are difficult to ignore. The chance to secure a better quality of life often outweighs the emotional ties that keep people rooted. Research shows that destinations like Australia, Germany, and the United Arab Emirates are becoming top choices for migrants. These nations not only value international talent but also make integration smoother through clear visa processes and professional recognition. In contrast, Canada's complex systems and long processing times can leave newcomers frustrated. Imagine being offered a job overseas where your skills are fully recognized, your children have access to affordable education, and your family can afford a comfortable home. For many Canadians and immigrants alike, the comparison makes relocation feel like a smart, forward-looking move. Families are not just chasing wealth, they are chasing security, dignity, and opportunity. Beyond economics, there is also the promise of broader life experiences. Moving abroad allows families to explore new cultures, gain international exposure, and build connections that might not be possible in Canada's highly competitive urban centers. Parents see opportunities for their children to thrive in diverse, innovative environments without the burden of excessive debt or housing stress. For those who already feel stretched thin, the prospect of starting fresh in a country that actively welcomes their contribution is deeply appealing. Ultimately, the search for better opportunities abroad is not about abandoning Canada but about seeking a future that feels more achievable. By 2030, this factor alone could be the most decisive reason millions of people choose to pack their bags and start again in a new land of promise. Number 9. Safety and crime concerns. Canada is often described as one of the safest countries in the world, but rising crime rates in certain regions are starting to challenge that reputation. In major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, reports of violent crimes, break-ins, and gang-related activity have steadily increased in recent years. For families raising children, the sense of security that once defined Canadian life feels less certain. Walking through once peaceful neighborhoods now comes with growing caution, and stories of random attacks or thefts are appearing more frequently in the news. This creeping sense of insecurity is leading many residents to question whether Canada is still the safe haven they believed it to be. Research highlights that while Canada remains safer overall compared to many countries, the rate of violent crime has risen noticeably since the pandemic years. Police forces in urban centers report increasing pressure as they try to respond to both traditional crimes and newer challenges, such as organized fraud and cybercrime. The visibility of these incidents, amplified by social media and news coverage, leaves communities feeling on edge. Families who once prioritized education or career opportunities now place safety as their top concern. Imagine being a parent constantly worrying about whether your child is safe traveling to school or playing in a local park. That ongoing stress builds over time and fuels the desire for a more secure environment. At the same time, other countries are making visible efforts to strengthen public safety, investing in policing, surveillance, and community programs to create environments where families feel protected. For those in Canada who feel crime is becoming harder to control, these international examples are appealing alternatives. The truth is, people want more than just job opportunities or affordable housing. They want to live without fear. When headlines about shootings, robberies, or gang clashes dominate the local news, the idea of relocating to a calmer, more stable country gains real momentum. For many families, the pursuit of safety and peace of mind is reason enough to consider leaving Canada well before 2030. Number 8. Education costs and opportunities abroad. Canada is often praised for its strong education system, but beneath the surface, many families are struggling with the rising cost of post-secondary education. While public schools are widely accessible, universities and colleges are becoming increasingly expensive, leaving students burdened with heavy student debt. For international students, tuition fees are even higher, sometimes 3 to 4 times what Canadian students pay. Add in the cost of housing, books, and daily living expenses, and the financial strain becomes overwhelming. Families who dreamed of sending their children to Canadian universities are now questioning whether the investment is worth it, especially when other countries offer high-quality education at a fraction of the price. Research shows that Canada is now among the more expensive places to pursue higher education compared to countries like Germany, France, or even Scandinavian nations, where tuition costs are significantly lower or sometimes even free. Students in Canada often graduate with tens of thousands of dollars in loans, limiting their ability to buy homes, start families, or invest in the future. This growing debt crisis doesn't just affect individuals, it impacts entire families, who must step in to help. Parents often delay retirement or take on additional jobs just to support their children's studies. The idea of working so hard only to face years of repayment leaves many families wondering if there are better opportunities abroad. Other nations have recognized the power of attracting international students by offering affordable programs, world-class institutions, and clear pathways to residency after graduation. For example, countries like Australia and the Netherlands have built reputations as education hubs where students can study, work, and settle without facing overwhelming debt. Families in Canada are noticing these trends and beginning to weigh their options. Why stay in a country where education costs create barriers, when other nations provide both affordability and opportunity? The pursuit of knowledge and growth is universal, but when that pursuit comes with crushing financial pressure, the appeal of leaving becomes stronger. For many Canadians, the search for accessible and affordable education could be one of the main reasons they decide to leave before 2030. Number 7. Political and social divisions. Canada has long been admired for its image of unity, inclusivity, and stability, but beneath the surface, rising political and social divisions are beginning to worry many citizens. In recent years, debates over immigration, climate policy, healthcare, and economic inequality have grown more polarized. Social media platforms amplify these disagreements, turning ordinary discussions into heated battles that leave people feeling more divided than ever. For families who came to Canada seeking peace and harmony, this growing divide feels unsettling. Instead of focusing on shared progress, the country risks falling into a cycle of constant arguments and declining trust. Surveys reveal that public confidence in political institutions is weakening. Frustration with leadership and dissatisfaction with policy decisions are fueling skepticism toward both federal and provincial governments. At the same time, Canadians are experiencing sharper divides between urban and rural regions, younger and older generations, and native-born citizens and newcomers. This kind of fragmentation creates an atmosphere where people feel disconnected from their communities. Imagine moving to a country with hopes of building a better future, only to find yourself caught in the middle of cultural conflicts and political instability. Over time, that disappointment becomes powerful enough to inspire families to look elsewhere. Meanwhile, other nations are working hard to promote a stronger sense of unity and national purpose. Countries with less political friction and clearer long-term visions present an attractive alternative to Canadians tired of constant disputes. For immigrants especially, the desire to raise children in an environment where cooperation is valued over division is a key motivator. People want to feel that their voice matters, but they also want reassurance that their society is not tearing itself apart. When Canada's divisions begin to overshadow its strengths, the appeal of leaving grows stronger. For many, seeking a nation with greater stability, trust, and cohesion feels like the best path to protecting their family's future. By 2030, this undercurrent of division may quietly push millions to consider starting over somewhere new. Number 6. Climate change and natural disasters. Canada's natural beauty is legendary, but in recent years, the growing impact of climate change has begun to reshape daily life. Increasingly severe wildfires, floods, and storms have left thousands of families displaced, sometimes with little warning. The summer of 2023 alone saw the worst wildfire season in Canadian history, covering entire provinces in toxic smoke and forcing mass evacuations. Families who once chose Canada for its safe environment are now reconsidering as climate-related disasters become a regular part of life. Imagine spending every summer wondering if you'll need to evacuate your home, unsure of when or if you can return. That kind of constant uncertainty pushes many people to seek out more climate-stable countries. Research confirms that Canada is warming at a rate nearly twice the global average. Melting permafrost is destabilizing infrastructure in the north, while rising sea levels threaten coastal areas. Extreme weather is no longer rare, it's becoming a seasonal expectation. This strain doesn't just affect those directly hit by disasters, it ripples across the economy. Insurance premiums climb, food prices rise as crops suffer, and governments struggle to allocate resources for recovery. For working families already burdened by high living costs, the added threat of climate disasters feels like one problem too many. With every wildfire evacuation or flooded street, the sense of vulnerability grows stronger, making relocation an attractive alternative. Meanwhile, other countries are adapting more aggressively. Some European nations are investing heavily in green infrastructure, coastal protection, and renewable energy, offering residents a sense of security against climate risks. When Canadians see foreign governments taking bold steps while their own communities remain under threat, the idea of moving abroad becomes far more tempting. For families with children, the priority is clear: they want to secure a safer, healthier future. Leaving Canada is not about abandoning the country they love, it's about escaping the shadow of worsening climate instability. As natural disasters intensify year after year, this issue alone could drive millions to search for safer ground long before 2030. Number 5. Immigration policy shifts. Canada has built its reputation as a nation that welcomes immigrants, but recent signals from policymakers suggest that the landscape may be shifting in ways that worry newcomers. Over the last decade, immigration has been a driving force behind Canada's population growth and economic vitality. Yet, the same growth is now being cited as a reason to tighten policies. Rising concerns about housing shortages, healthcare pressure, and job competition are fueling debates about reducing immigration targets or making residency pathways more restrictive. For families who came to Canada believing in a clear route to permanent residency or citizenship, these potential changes create a sense of uncertainty and instability. Research and reports indicate that public opinion is becoming more divided, with some Canadians urging the government to limit intake numbers. Policymakers are responding with proposals that could make it harder to qualify for programs like express entry or provincial nominee pathways. Even small adjustments, such as higher language score requirements or stricter financial criteria, could leave many immigrants stranded in limbo. Imagine building a life, investing in your children's education, and then being told the rules have changed. The fear of losing status or facing delayed applications is enough to push some families to start planning their departure before 2030. The prospect of being uprooted not by choice, but by policy changes, is a powerful motivator. At the same time, other countries are taking the opposite approach. Nations like Australia, Germany, and even Gulf states are actively attracting skilled workers with streamlined systems and faster residency options. For immigrants already feeling uneasy about shifting policies in Canada, these alternatives appear far more appealing. When families weigh the risk of uncertain status in Canada against the promise of security elsewhere, the decision to move becomes clearer. It's not always about rejecting Canada, it's about protecting a future that feels increasingly fragile. For millions of immigrants, the fear of shifting immigration policies could be the tipping point that convinces them to leave before 2030. Number 4. Job market challenges. Canada is often seen as a land of opportunity, but many workers are discovering that the job market is not as promising as it appears. For immigrants especially, securing a role that matches their skills and qualifications can be an uphill battle. Engineers, doctors, and other highly trained professionals often arrive with years of experience, only to be told their credentials are not recognized. Instead of working in their chosen fields, they take survival jobs just to make ends meet. This disconnect creates feelings of underappreciation and wasted potential, which push many to look abroad for places where their talents are valued. Even young Canadians face difficulties, with a competitive market that leaves many underemployed or struggling to find stable careers. Research shows that underemployment among newcomers is significantly higher than the national average. The issue is not only about finding work, but also about the quality of jobs available. Many positions are contract-based, lack benefits, or fail to provide a living wage, especially when compared to the rising cost of living. Add in the fact that promotions and opportunities for career growth are often limited, and it's clear why frustration is building. The problem is particularly challenging for recent graduates carrying student debt, who often find themselves in low-paying roles far below their skill level. The dream of building a career in Canada can quickly turn into a struggle for survival. This situation motivates people to explore countries with stronger employment opportunities and better support for skilled professionals. Nations like Australia and Germany actively recruit international talent, making it easier for workers to integrate and succeed. In contrast, many feel Canada is wasting the potential of its workforce. When families realize that their professional futures might flourish elsewhere, the appeal of leaving becomes difficult to ignore. The promise of job security, fair wages, and recognition of hard-earned skills drives countless people to reconsider their long-term plans. For those who feel stuck in Canada's uneven job market, moving abroad offers not just employment, but a chance at the dignity and respect they have been searching for. Number 3. Healthcare system under strain. Canada's healthcare system has long been a point of pride, admired around the world for being publicly funded and accessible to all. But behind the reputation, millions of Canadians are facing long wait times and growing frustrations that make the system feel like it is breaking down. Patients in need of surgeries or specialist treatments often wait months, sometimes even over a year, before receiving care. Imagine being in pain every single day, told to simply wait in line. For many, this experience turns what should be a safety net into a source of constant anxiety. The promise of free healthcare loses its meaning when treatment comes too late. Studies consistently show that Canada ranks among the countries with the longest delays in accessing critical medical services. In some provinces, the average wait time from referral to treatment exceeds 25 weeks. Emergency rooms are overwhelmed, with patients spending entire nights waiting just to see a doctor. Nurses and physicians are under extreme workload pressure, leading to burnout and staff shortages that only make the problem worse. For immigrants and younger Canadians who expected strong healthcare support, these realities are a harsh shock. When someone watches their loved one suffer because the system is too slow, they begin to wonder if another country might offer better care. This strain on healthcare drives people to explore regions with more efficient systems, even if private insurance comes at a cost. Countries like Germany, Australia, and even smaller European nations have become attractive because patients can get treatment faster and more reliably. For families with children or elderly parents, the thought of waiting half a year for a simple surgery feels unacceptable. Leaving Canada becomes less about abandoning home and more about protecting the health and well-being of their loved ones. As stories of overcrowded hospitals and delayed diagnoses continue to dominate the headlines, it becomes clear why healthcare, once Canada's shining strength, is now one of the major reasons families consider leaving before 2030. Number 2. Rising cost of living. The cost of living in Canada has risen to levels that many families can no longer keep up with, creating a silent crisis that grows each year. Everyday essentials such as food, transportation, and energy bills have become so expensive that even middle-income households feel squeezed. A simple grocery trip that once felt routine is now a constant reminder of inflation, with prices of items like milk, bread, and vegetables climbing far faster than wages. Parents often describe the stress of walking through supermarkets, forced to make difficult choices between healthy meals and affordable ones. This feeling of being financially cornered is not just a temporary frustration, it's a powerful motivator that pushes people to imagine a life in countries where their income stretches further. Recent studies highlight that the average Canadian household spends a much larger portion of their income on necessities compared to families in other developed countries. Utility bills for electricity and heating continue to surge, particularly in regions with harsh winters, leaving little room for savings. Transportation is another growing burden, as the costs of gasoline, vehicle maintenance, and insurance rise steadily. For many, commuting to work has transformed into an expensive challenge rather than a simple daily task. This rising pressure creates an environment where people feel they are constantly working harder but falling behind at the same time. When combined with stagnant wage growth, the math simply doesn't add up for countless households across the nation. As Canadians struggle to adapt, many begin to compare their situation with opportunities abroad. Countries with a lower cost of living, cheaper groceries, and affordable utilities suddenly look far more attractive. The appeal lies not only in saving money but in regaining a sense of financial freedom. Imagine a family that currently spends most of its paycheck just to survive. Moving somewhere with lower expenses allows them to finally save for the future, invest in their children's education, and enjoy a better quality of life. This is why the rising cost of living is not just an inconvenience, it is a driving force behind the growing desire to leave Canada before 2030. Number 1. Skyrocketing housing costs. Canada's housing market has become one of the most unaffordable in the world, and this reality is pushing many families to think about leaving before 2030. For decades, owning a home in Canada was seen as part of the Canadian dream. Today, that dream feels out of reach for millions. In major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, the price of even a modest home has climbed so high that younger generations feel permanently locked out of ownership. Experts report that in some cities, the average house price is now more than 10 times the average annual income. This means families are often forced to spend over 60% of their monthly earnings just to cover rent or mortgage payments. For many, that leaves little for food, healthcare, education, or savings. Imagine working hard every day and still not being able to provide a secure roof over your family's head. That feeling of financial instability creates deep frustration. Another factor is the rise of foreign investment and limited housing supply. Properties are often snapped up by investors, which drives prices even higher and makes affordable housing nearly impossible to find. On top of that, increasing interest rates have made borrowing money far more expensive. Many who stretched their budgets to buy a house are now struggling with mortgage stress, worrying about how to make their next payment. This issue isn't just affecting big cities anymore. Smaller towns, once seen as affordable alternatives, are also witnessing rapid spikes in rental costs. Families who once moved to these areas for relief are discovering that prices are quickly catching up. As a result, more Canadians are looking abroad, searching for places where their money buys more space, stability, and security. When you see a family choosing between paying rent or paying for groceries, the appeal of relocating to a country with affordable housing becomes very clear. As we've explored, there are many forces quietly shaping a possible exodus from Canada before 2030. From the crushing weight of housing costs and the rising cost of living, to challenges in the healthcare system, job market instability, and shifting immigration policies, families are reaching a breaking point. Add in the intensifying impact of climate change, growing political divisions, the burden of education costs, concerns over safety, and the lure of better opportunities abroad, and it becomes clear why millions are questioning their future in this country. For generations, Canada has been a beacon of hope, drawing people from around the world with the promise of security and opportunity. But promises alone cannot build stability. Families want more than survival, they want to thrive, to raise children without constant financial stress, and to feel safe and valued in their communities. If those needs aren't met, many will continue searching for new beginnings beyond Canada's borders. This trend is not just about individuals leaving, it's about a nation facing tough questions about its future direction. Whether Canada can adapt to keep its people will define what the country looks like in the years ahead. What about you? Would you stay and fight for a better Canada, or consider starting fresh somewhere new? Share your thoughts below, your perspective matters. And before you go, check out our previous video for deeper insights into Canada's housing crisis. We put a lot of effort into bringing you these stories, so please support us. Hit that subscribe button, it's just one click that helps us keep going.